All right, everyone, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, December 15th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. And let's get into it today. So markets here, flat to lower here, although the Qs are having a decent day. I'm doing the video a little on the early side. It is OPEX, quarterly OPEX for December. And as you can see, they're just kind of pinning this here to the 470 / 4700 area. So I wouldn't expect any fireworks really to take place before the closing bell, though the Qs are having a decent little up day and, a little bit of chop there, a little bit of minor volatility, nothing more here. So we don't want to make too much out of today's price action. But what we will say is that yesterday we did have that hanging man set up on the SPX and the SPY as well. Again, spiders also, just keep in mind they paid a dividend today, so it looks like they're down a lot more than they are. But in any case, little hanging man candle. Could this be a start of the pullback? It's possible. The market is parabolic. It's very overbought. And the market is in euphoria mode. So I would say probabilities definitely favor that. At some point here, I know a lot of people are talking about, I'm hearing this stuff on Twitter, the Santa rally's coming. This wasn't a Santa rally already, 15% in 6 weeks. So, I mean, at one point, are you being a fat pig, that not to say that it can't go higher. When you get euphoria and you get a blow off top, it can go higher. Nothing to say that can't happen, but I think probabilities still favor some sort of at least digestion here. Again, I'm not looking for any sort of big down move. I'm not positioned for a down move here, but markets do need to work off this overbought condition. I think we could have a similar setup to what we had in June, where we went straight up for like 2-3 weeks, and then we pulled back in right on options X, and then we pulled into the 20 moving average, right? 20 DMA, 462, 460 area, right? So right in this range here could be something until year end. And then I think the markets can go up, and at least the spiders can go up and make all-time highs. Obviously, the Dow already did. There's the DJI, DIA. I think the Qs are a little bit different because we got up to 406.54. The Qs all-time high is 408.71. So maybe, let's say we're up Monday. We could easily just get there Monday. They could gap us up in Globex to get us there Monday. Whereas the SPX and the spiders have a little bit more of a ways to go. They have about, about 90 points here on the SPX. So that's kind of a considerable move. I think for the SPX to get there, we'll probably need to do a little backing and filling, maybe even into the end of the year. Like I said, the Qs, they could gap us up Monday, and then we could kind of pull back, maybe into the end of the year or something like that. But again, markets are, very strong trend here. Don't fight it, as I've been saying. And, the bears will make their move when they do. And then you'll have a very high volume reversal, and, you can trade it off of that. But right now, the trend is strong, and we're coming into, again, still seasonality. Participation is going to drop down as we get closer to Christmas, so that's not good for bears. Again, doesn't mean we can't pull back, but it's not something we really want to fight here. So again, pullback targets, if we do come in, 462, 460, I think that's kind of max move right now. Triple Qs here. Your level will be right in, we'll just say 390. Let's get rid of this. There is your previous 52-week high, and then you've got kind of these pivots here. So 390, 392 area would be the level to watch on the triple Qs. IWM, a little bit of an outside move today, so a little bit of a reversal. Again, it tagged 200 yesterday, and it's really overbought. It's a 40-point rally in 6 weeks on the IWM. You're also coming into this pivot point, which has been a pivot point for the last 18 months. And I believe there's a monthly, check that. So just that pivot point there, and the whole round number at 200 there. So IWM, you got a gap to fill. You had a big thrust here. If we start to pull back, I'd say 187.50. That would be essentially retesting the pre-FOMC levels. I know it's quite a ways away, but that's really just the next level I see there. We didn't really build supports. We just had a big thrust. So that would be the level to watch outside of the gap fill there for the Russell. For the Dow here, the Dow is parabolic. So this is not healthy and it's not sustainable. We're going to have a pretty sizable correction in the Dow and the markets. It's just not likely to happen just yet. But when this comes down, it's going to come down pretty sharply, I would imagine. Parabolic moves are unsustainable. Doesn't mean you can't have more, right? Things can go higher than we think. I've definitely learned that in the past. But at this point, let's not try to fight it here until the market gives us a sell signal. Anyways, semiconductors here up another 0.5%. Little tail candle though, so possible little short-term top. No real volume behind it, and it is an OPEX day, so we don't want to make too much out of it. But Broadcom did come off the highs a little bit, but still made, excuse me, a new all-time high. Another 2.5%. This is a $500 billion company, guys, and this is up, 12, 13% in the last 6 days, 7 days. That's a monster move. Take a look at AMD here, up another 66 basis points. Intel up 1.5. A little bit of a tail candle there. This may be getting a little top heavy. So we had a little topping tail possibly on Intel with an uptick in volume. And you also went into a big monthly level. Monthly 50 MA, big breakdown. So I think Intel maybe a little top heavy there. But again, semiconductors making new highs. And the SOX, I believe, SOX did yesterday. And that's still up 0.5% today. Again, little tail candle there. May need to pull back again. Really overbought. We'll look at like 3,800 area, and then we'll just say 3790, 3,800. And there's your pivot, and then those pivots there. So, anyways, IGV hanging in there okay. And that's what's impressive about that is you got Microsoft, biggest component, not having the greatest week relative to the rest of the market. It was actually down pretty sharply yesterday. We also had Oracle report earnings. They got hammered. Adobe got hammered on earnings as well. And IGV's holding up. So take a look at CRM, CrowdStrike, Atlassian, Cloudflare, ServiceNow. These are all acting really well and kind of making up for those weak earnings from Adobe and Oracle, which are big companies. So, and Microsoft weakness. So IGV still holding up. I still think I'd favor weekly consolidation here at this level. But the trend is up, and you don't want to fight that. All right, Dow Transports continuing higher here, so making a slight new high. This exceeded our target, so we looked at 16K. We got there, we pulled back, and then we made a new high today. We might close below that, though. I mean, there is still an hour left, so we could pull back and close below it. Either way, next level, I'll just say 16,250 area. Okay, so that's what we're going to look for there. This inverse head and shoulders is valid all the way up to just under 17K though. So right there, that's still in play until proven otherwise. But yeah, nice move for the transports. All right, interest rates here. So let's take a look. That's a dollar, which we'll talk about obviously. 2-year getting a little bit of balance. It's funny, this morning Williams came out, Fed Governor Williams said, well, we're not talking about rate cuts. What are you guys thinking? So obviously Powell saw this move here in the spiders. And was like, I didn't know the market was going to go that high. And so now they're trying to walk it back already, and they're talking up yields. It just absolute idiocy and complete incompetence. From what I can tell, he was politically pressured. Powell was politically pressured to pivot, and it's going to be looked at as an Arthur Burns moment, if you ask me. But right now, we got to the 425 area on the 2-year. This is an important level. For the 2-year, and I think it's a very good one. So I think the 2-year has got a possible low in place, but we'll have to see how this shakes out here. I can't rule out a little bit more downside, but this area here is a big level for the 2-year. Yield 5s, I could see about 380, 375. 10-year, the bigger levels right down here around 375. Kind of that spring level where we broke out of, and then this big base. So right in this zone here, 375, 380, maybe even 365 on the lower side. And then the 30 is right around, 380. So those are the big levels for yields. I don't really see them going much lower than that. I know everybody hates yields now. Everybody loves bonds. What I'll say to that is everybody loved bonds back in March. And, when we had the Silicon Valley blow up, everybody's like, oh, that's it, 2% yield. And we went to 5. Now we're just pulling back. So that is my thesis on that. We'll talk about that more in further videos. Anyways, XHB here down 1%, which is a crime. So it did make a new all-time high. So that's the consolation prize. It hit 96.12. I don't know where this wants to go. $100. I'll just say that. At this point, it's at an all-time high. And you can't bet against it until it gives you a high volume reversal, and then you can put a stop above the high. But right now, home builders are in euphoria mode on a sugar high. VNQ is coming in a little bit. Remember yesterday I talked about that 90 handle. Picture perfect on the weekly. High of the day 90, spot 09. 200 MA, 100 MA, down move, retrace pivot area. So a little bit of supply in there. I think VNQ is overbought, needs to pull back. We'll just say 84 here is your next level. XLF exceeds all targets here, although it did come back in. We talked about this possible evening star, and that's kind of happening right now. So up move, gap after a euphoric run, gap up, doji, down move. So possible correction here for XLF. Again, it's OpEx. I don't want to make too much out of it here, but daily chart could be setting up here for a little retrace. Big level is going to be 36 and a quarter. That's a daily chart level. If you get through that, then you can go back down to 35. Eventually, I think it does get there. But right now, big move here, and we're just seeing the beginnings of a pullback. KRE also down 2%, but to be fair, it's about big. This can still get to 56. There it is, weekly level. Got close to that 200 moving average and 100, kind of like the VNQ, but not quite there, and it is pulling back. I'm just going to say 49.50 or so, $50 would be your next target on a pullback. KBE, it's easy, 44, right? Obvious. Maybe even a pierce of that, maybe 43, because that was your little base right there. But big level there for KBE, and look at it, shot through those moving averages. That is, you don't really see that very often, especially on a weekly. All right, broker dealers here, pulling back in off the highs, but they are at all-time highs. We'll just say 520 and then 510 are your pullback levels there. All right, on to commodities here. So crude, I'm not sure what this wants to do here. I did exit my crude, full disclosure, for gain. This pattern, I know I've talked about this a lot lately. This algo is getting sloppy. So we have a down move here, right? You're into a big level, and you need to consolidate for a while to break through that. So it tried to break down after only a few days. Then we had what? An up move. The next candle was another up move, and we pulled back in like a third off the highs, right? Next day, inside day up. Small candle, small body. Okay, what happens here? We move down into a big level, right? We only consolidated for 3 days. We tried to break down, it failed. We rallied up. Next day up, pulled back about a third off the highs. Next day, inside day up. Are we gonna bear flag for another week? I don't know. If that happens, it would be pretty remarkable. It could happen though. So I'm not sure what it wants to do here. If it does inch up, I'd say 74, 75 is your next level. If it gets through that, it can go to 80. I'm not so sure it does that though. I think it may want to spike the low one more time, and we'll just kind of evaluate it from there. But that's what I'm seeing on crude right now. So I am out of that for the time being. XLE had that big move yesterday, inside day today. I'm not doing anything with this. I would prefer to see that in the upper 70s. XOP, same thing, although inside hammer. That can consolidate and go higher potentially. OIH, same thing. I would still like this to have one more drop in it as well, but it's holding up today, and we'll leave it at that. Uranium here via CCJ, a little bit of a gap and crap, but that can still go up to $50. I think the correction in this comes in January after all the funds are done chasing it, and you get that buy side liquidity to dry up. But right now, pulling back 3%. Let's not make too much out of it. Same thing with URNM. That can still go to the double top. Nat gas here getting a bounce here. And again, this seems a lot like quarterly OpEx stuff. And I said that on Monday too, but look at where it's going to close. It's going to close at 250. Is that a whole round number? Yeah. Is that where options traders would probably place a bet? I would imagine. Down move, they flushed it hard Monday, Tuesday, and then they rallied it back up, and we're going to close basically where we opened. So it definitely feels like a lot of game playing going on. Face value, though, nice tail candle on volume. So this has a good chance of getting a retrace finally. It's very oversold. 262 and then 280 are your next levels, and then a back test of 3 would be the big area for nat gas. Dollar index. So this is an interesting one. So it got very close to the trend line and it start to bounce. This is what I do, and this is what you have to do as a trader, right? So we draw these trend lines, right? And they're kind of subjective, right? You could draw them through a pivot low. Some people like to draw them through the body. I tend to draw it through the pivot low unless the market says to do otherwise. Well, right now we'll have to see. Next week, if the dollar starts rallying up, we're going to say, we're just going to do this. This is how easy it is. Okay, there you go. You hit the trend line, right? That's the market, telling you this is the level we're respecting. So that's what we would do there. Until then, I'm just going to leave it here. And if it comes down Monday or Tuesday and slices it a little bit, then we'll say that happened there. So we'll just make that call next week. Either way, it's close to a bounce level, right? So we'll see what we get. Again, next level, big levels, 104 still, and then 104.35. But dollar coming in and getting a little bit of a bounce there, and again, we'll have to reserve judgment until next week. Gold here pulling back a little bit. I'm not so sure what this wants to do. I still think there's a lot of supply in here, but gold is doing some backing and filling. The big level is this monthly trend line. We can close above that on a monthly. That would be a huge positive. Silver also doing some backing and filling. I think this can be bought on a bull pattern, but again, a lot of supply in there. It may need to do some more backing and filling, maybe even on the weekly time frame. Platinum here starting to pull back off the 200. That can be bought on a bull pattern. And the all-star, mark this down, palladium has I think a major possible multi-year low in. You're going to see here, I've been telling you guys for last month, you can start accumulating it down here. And I said, we could go to 900, but outside move up, confirmation, take a look at the weekly. Yeah, that's a failed inside bar on the weekly. With volume, look at the volume here, guys. That's capitulation. That's smart money buying. Accumulation last couple of weeks. Outside move up. It does have some resistance at 12 and then the 200 MA. But look at this monthly. I've been showing you guys this for since June. If you go to the all-time, not the all-time low, but the low pivot, and the GFC to the all-time high, there's your 75%. Into the 200 moving average, a previous all-time high. I mean, this is everything you want here. Capitulation volume, check. Outside move on the monthly, check. This is the level here. So palladium can be bought on bull patterns, and hopefully you guys got some accumulation here off that, because I told you to do it. All right, copper here down 35 basis points. I'll just give it the upside bias to 4 if we can get above this pivot. I still think it can have one more drop though, but it's holding up there, and we'll leave it at that. All right, Bitcoin, a little bit more of a pullback. So the big picture, the big macro pattern here is up move sideways. So that's bullish. You do have a minor kind of bearish inside bar here on the daily, but the trend is up. So this has a higher percentage chance of failing. If we came down here, like let's say we closed, I'm trying to draw a trend line here. Let's say we closed down here and then we went sideways. Then I'd say, okay, it's got a higher chance of playing out because you did some technical chart damage, right? You got through this low and so on and so forth. You got through the moving average, but it didn't do that. So it could still go higher. That doesn't mean it can't pull back. First level would be about 39,000, 38,000. And then that would probably put it in corrective mode. Remember, it's had a big moonshot here. So when this corrects, it's going to correct. But again, no real technical problems right now, and it can still go to 48. ETH, again, hit our target at 24. Next level, I'd just say 28. I mean, that's a ways away, but if it really gets going, we get some sort of, another euphoric leg, it could certainly happen there. I still think Solana getting close there. Oh, it got there today. So 79.56, told you guys $80 back when we were here. And that is there. And if that wants to get going, that can go to 100 too. So I'm watching those ones there, but Bitcoin hanging in there okay, and I don't really see any terrible problems right now. Okay, so lastly, let's take a look here. Spiders are hanging in there, 47.11 right now. We're gonna be sideways into the close. That's what's gonna happen. We might get a little whipsaw, and you might get a little end of quarter. There might be like an end of quarter big pop or something like that. So just watch for that. That can happen sometimes as rebalancing and stuff happens. But in any case, markets here, possible short-term top. It could be in play with that hanging man. We'll have to see next week. I do think the Qs probably try to challenge all-time high. It's only 4 points away, so it's not really that much of a jump. But the SPX, I think, probably needs to consolidate one more leg before it does that. And that might even take until the end of the year. But again, that remains to be seen right now. And definitely don't fight this trend because if we get into a full-blown euphoria mode, we can go higher than you think, quicker than you think. So just be aware of that as well. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on CarnivoreTrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all next week.